Good evening. It's Saraswatala PRABHAKAR from the Daily Entertainer, Delhi. Today we will be discussing about Asaram's case. 10,000 crores of net worth, 400 ashrams all over India and all over the world, hundreds of acres of land grabbed, millions of devotees, followers, top politicians including central ministers and chief ministers queuing up to touch his feet seeking blessings. Big fanfare, traffic movement restricted for smooth movement of his cavalcades on the streets of Delhi, bulletproof cars, bulletproof podium for giving pravachans. All this came crumbling and crushing by the fearless and relentless fight of a 16 years old young girl, which has ultimately resulted in Asaram spending the rest of his life in prison. This is the story of rag to riches to shameful end of Asumal Harpalani, more popularly known as Asaram. The Mat Tangewala turned the tainted Saint or Baba, as his followers would like to address him, got so intoxicated by heady cocktail of wealth, power, political clout, mindless adulation by his supporters that he started thinking himself to be the God man or God himself, and he can get away by doing any ridiculous thing he wanted to, including treating a minor girl as a slave on an Independence Day and raping her. When caught on a wrong foot, first he took it very lightly, being overconfident that he can menace anything in India. Then, when the incident got into public glare, tried to put pressure on all, especially the victim and their parents, then started using his political clout, putting pressure on everybody, then ultimately playing the religious card of his being maligned and Hinduism being attacked. When everything has not worked, he became so desperate that he declared himself to be important and he cannot rape the victim. But to his misfortune, when he was subjected to potency test, he came out with flying colors in the first attempt itself. Asaram had a very modest beginning with no credentials of education, training, or spiritual knowledge. But over a period of time, like all other religious gurus or sadhus or dongi babas, he had a good sizable number of devotees, and he leveraged that support of countless number of devotees and started to build a strong political patronage. Then slowly he started grabbing large chunks of land and started building ashrams all over India. Then next step, for his publicity sake, he has been on TVs all over the day giving pravachans written by a big team of intellectuals hired by him. Then came the disastrous phase in his life where he thought himself to be larger than life, flouting political connections, became flamboyant, started unleashing the Michael Jackson or Mithun Chakravarti in him, dancing solos, dancing with his son and devotees, his own version of Ras Leelas, doing all sorts of funny things from the dais, like using big cannons of water for Holi, started giving sound bites on every matter which is not connected with religion, including the making a ridiculous and obnoxious comment when the Nirbhaya case happened. Coming to this particular case, there are many champions in this episode, which really makes it to be a like a Bollywood thriller. Let me tell you honestly, if this entire episode is made into a movie, people would brush it off that since it is a movie, it is shown like that, it will never happen in a real life. The first champion in this entire episode is the 16-year-old victim, the brave heart hailing from a small village in Uttar Pradesh, who withstood the tremendous pressure put in by Asaram and his henchman for 5 long years, literally imposing herself to a house arrest and living on the edge of being bumped off anytime, and going through the grueling court proceedings and being cross-examined by top lawyers. She has come out with flying colors and really deserves the highest bravery award from Government of India. Her parents are also equally deserve all the praise for steadfastly standing by her and supporting her throughout this 5 years of tremendous struggle, though initially they were the devotees of Asaram. Second comes the judiciary. This case has really reinforced our faith in our impartial judiciary system, and judges giving judgment without any fear or favor, not bothering about how powerful the accused is. It also strengthens the resolve of the exploited poor, especially the females, that if they are determined and resolute, they can bring down even the most mightiest people like Asaram to dust like any other mortal. This case and Gurmeet case have gone to prove that howsoever powerful one may try to project himself to be, he is not beyond the law. There may be some delays in delivery of justice, but justice is never denied. Next comes the filmy type of a top cop, Ajay Pal Lamba, the then Deputy Commissioner of Police, Jodhpur, who investigated this case initially. It was reported that he received more than 2,000 threatening letters and hundreds of calls while he was overseeing the investigation of this particular case. The pressure put on him was so much that he stopped sending his daughter to school for a considerable time during the investigation, and his wife never used to come out of the house fearing hurt being caused to her and to her family members. But this honest cop never budged, never came under pressure, and taken the investigation to the logical conclusion, because of which the Asaram was convicted ultimately. The last but not the least is the advocate Mr. P.C. Solanki, who represented the case of the victim without charging a single penny, considering that his client is very poor. He withstood tremendous pressure put in by Asaram and the temptation of crores of rupees being offered to him to withdraw from the case. On the professional front, he has to withstand against the big luminaries of legal world like Ram Jetalmalani and Subramanya Swamy, who represented Asaram for some time. For a small time lawyer of Jodhpur, standing before these big names who are never known to lose a case is not a small achievement. Coming to the devotees, normally when such things happen, we blame the Babas, Godmen like Asaram, Gurmeet, Nityanand, Rampal, and many more such people. But equally guilty are the gullible and the blind followers and devotees. I could never make out what is that weakness which makes a man to start believing and treating another man to be a god man or a god. Honestly, I do not believe that these Dongi Babas have any extraordinary capabilities to cheat people. They just could garner the support of lakhs of people who are idiotic followers, who just want to be cheated, and they definitely get somebody to cheat them. It is the stupidity of the people to believe in miracle treatments, magic shows, vulgar display of wealth, pomp and show. Once anybody garners the support of few lakhs of devotees, it will not be difficult for such sadhus or religious gurus to develop political clout and become popular in their pockets of areas and do whatever they want to do. And it is shocking in many cases, including in this particular case, that how can people go into such a brain freeze to send their young daughters, sisters, wives to bedrooms or gufas of the gurus for solitary pujas during the day or night. If you are so foolish and gullible and do such things, what better you can expect from a Dongi Baba? All these fake Babas and blind followers of these Babas are doing an irreparable damage to the faith of Hinduism. I do not attach any religion to these Babas. They are simply crooks and scoundrels. This is a land which has produced sages like Adi Shankaracharya, Raman Maharshi, and Swami Vivekananda, and great people like Vinobhava and even Abdul Kalam, who preached simplicity, austerity, pious way of living. These Dongi Babas are anything but having these virtues. We just cannot allow these Dongi Babas to paint Hindu religion black. I really wish the government wakes up and comes out with a legislation by which there is some control over all these religious gurus or babas or saints or whatever they want to call themselves to be. Beyond a limit, if a wealth is amassed, the government should take account of that, and where things are not in doing properly, they should take over such ashrams and religious places and put them under a trust or a board. We in India have fantastic religious trusts like TTD, Vaishnadevi Board, Amritsar Golden Temple Board, who have also some of the richest temples in the world, but putting the money collected to good uses. India is a country where we have lakhs of temples, thousands of gods. Apart from God and goddesses, we worship trees, rivers, stones, any conceivable thing. In such a scenario, I could never understand what is the necessity of following a guru and treating a fellow human being as a god. It is because of our idiocy, stupidity, that so many babas, gurus, all are dhongis are coming up in every city, village and street corner looking for such gullible people to cheat and loot. So before we blame anybody else, we should do our introspection and see, are we doing something to encourage such people to come up fast and loot us and decamp, or ultimately end up in jails, and nobody knows what happens to these thousands of crores of wealth amassed by them. It will definitely doesn't come to the government or doesn't come to the good use of poor people from whom these people have collected all this money. So the remedy remains with us. The day we stop worshipping all these human beings and treating them as God, and this menace will surely come to an end. So with this hope that very soon we will see the end of these Dongi Babas and see the rise and celebration of Hindu religion. I, Prabhakar, sign off for now. Good night.